From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, nothing but scrimmage talk. It's Marky Mark time in Tallahassee, y'all. Catch the fever. Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida, cptallybar.com, the website. Weekdays, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., lunch specials. Mondays, burger time, y'all. Half-pound black Angus beef, lettuce, tomato, onion. You also get a side dish. Fries, curly fries, tater tots, potato salad, broccoli, side salad, freshly cooked potato chips. I didn't even have the list in front of me, Corey. I think I nailed maybe like 90% of the side dishes, or there's even more. It's all at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Check out their new delicious dishes, whether it's the prime rib sandwich or the Nashville hot or the bear as well. They've got Italian beef. They're doing it all for you over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Trivia on Tuesdays, bingo on Thursdays, billiards, darts, all of it every single day at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Football season gearing up, so obviously that's where you want to be if you're going to be watching football, especially the NFL stuff. Well, even college.
Saw on was it Thursday or Friday night? Saw a couple from Tampa that came up to drop off their daughter to go to school.
Represent.
And I think was visiting Corner Pocket for the first time, I think, and they were ordering a Cuban and really seemed to love it. I can't remember their names specifically. They know who they are. The wife went to school with Bert Kreischer.
Okay.
I think her name was Toby, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
And then the husband, I think, went to Ohio State. It's a cool story. He went to Ohio State. She went to Florida State, obviously, with Kreischer. And he's adopted Florida State and become a huge Florida State fan. Obviously, his daughter goes to Florida State now. And he listens to us every day on his morning walk.
Oh, sorry. Well, I've denigrated the Buckeyes numerous times on the pod, so apologize there.
I don't
Loyal
think he
listener.
cares. He's a Nole, man. He's
All
a
right.
Nole. It doesn't matter
All
where he
right.
went to school now. That was a while ago. He's a Nole now.
All right, good stuff.
Thanks to us.
Yeah,
I'm going to say it's thanks to us.
Yeah. 5-star rating and review. Hit the thumbs up button. We certainly would appreciate it. Also, subscribe to the podcast because why not? Know what's going on when it's going on. Right here on Wake Up Warchant. Reminder as well, we're going to be partying all weekend long in Orlando. Come join us as Florida State gets ready for their opener against LSU on Sunday, September 3rd. Saturday, 4 to 5 o'clock over at Hooch Bar on Wall Street, a meet and greet with the entire Warchant staff. We're going to try to have some preferred seating for the subscribers, but we do recommend to get there early because there's going to be a live headlines going on from 5 to 6, so everyone's going to be packing in to Hooch Bar at Wall Street. 5 to 6 o'clock, live Seminole headlines, happy hour maybe some might call it because it's only going to be an hour, not two, so that too will be at Hooch Bar, Wall Street. Jeff, Ira, Corey, you know how it goes down. And then Sunday game day, 12 to 2, pregame show on Wall Street with Jeff and Tom. They're going to be on a stage just outside of Hooch, right there on Wall Street. And then after the game, all the way up until 1 in the morning, Tom and Gene got you covered with another live broadcast from Hooch. So come join us. I think it's $20 for the entire block party. We're part of it, so it's not $20 just to come hang out with us. It's $20 to be a part of everything that's going on in that Wall Street district, I guess is what they refer to it as, Corey. WallStreetOrlando.com. Grab your tickets. Get banded. Let's go. Let us go. All right, Corey, so it's just words on the screen for a lot of folks. Maybe words coming through their headphones if they listen to the press conferences. But, man, good vibrations. The Marky Mark thing finally comes full circle here on the pod. I know you're all wondering what's going on there, Aslan. Man, I feel like a second scrimmage is probably when you're a head coach or an assistant, a coordinator. At that point, your fears are either realized or your hopes are coalescing and coming together. Right? I feel like at that point you'll kind of know where your season could possibly go. And after the scrimmage on Sunday, whether it was Mike Norvell, especially Adam Fuller, I don't know if you want to start with Adam Fuller's comments when he talked about his defense and just how good he thinks they can be. But that just sounded like whether it was Atkins talking about the offense, Norvell talking about the team as a whole, Fuller talking about the defense and the team as a whole. Man, this staff really seems to have a good vision for where this team is going to be, and they're performing quite well in scrimmages, which makes you think that sky's the limit for this season.
Yeah, and I think Fuller said something like they can be as good as anybody.
Yep.
When he was asked about the defense, and then the team as a whole. And basically the premise of the question was, now that you've had 2 scrimmages, 15 practices, what do you think this defense could be? And, he was very excited and said, I think this could be, as good as anyone. I can't remember the exact phrase. I typed it, I transcribed it, but I can't remember what he said. But that was it. That
was it. I heard.
Okay. But yeah, so I was wondering when they were talking, when Norvell was talking about, he seemed really pleased with what he saw on Sunday. And then Fuller seemed pleased with what he saw too, even though they're battling against each other. And I was wondering, because it sounds like, and again, we're not allowed to get into who's out there and who's not, who's participating and who's not. I think Fuller or Norvell both mentioned,
Jared Verse
and Tatum Bethune, kind of being back out there. Mentioned Keon Coleman, and like, just the way they talked, it's like, okay, you wonder, like, because you haven't seen the collective together yet. Right. Everybody that you're counting on for this reason or that reason, it hasn't always been the best 22 versus the other best 22 on the other side of the ball. It seems like Sunday was as close as they've been to that. And maybe that's where the good feelings come from. And, we can't get into who's there and who's not, but it sounds like they were almost operating at full capacity in a way. And that was you got to see that up close for an hour and a half or 2 hours, however long that scrimmage was. And maybe it kind of reminded them, or was a stark reminder, a slap in the face, like, yeah, when these guys are out here going full speed, this is a good team. We got good players everywhere. It just felt like they saw something that maybe they hadn't seen yet. And not that they had been upset with preseason practice. Didn't it just seem like they were more upbeat, those two in particular, than we've heard them all year?
Absolutely. And I think that's I think you're spot on, as they say in Ireland, with that assessment, because it does feel like that they probably have been as close to full strength with everybody, because Norvell said that they were making plays on both sides of the ball, and I guess that's where it comes from, right? Like, if Adam Fuller and Mike Norvell and Alex Atkins are going to feel good equally, seemingly, about each side of the football, it has to be because Braden Fisk and Jared Verse are making plays sometimes, but then Jeremiah Byers and Casey Roddick are stymieing them, and you're just like, okay, over the course of 60 minutes, 4 quarters of football, we just trust that our offense is going to be able to get enough done against whoever that lines up against us, and juxtapose that with defensively, just feel like, all right, if we can slow this team, this offense, if we can, give Jordan Travis problems enough during a 100-play scrimmage or however many plays they ran, it seemed it was largely situational, that again, just portends to the season playing out really well. So I think that's probably where that stemmed from. I'm with you on that theory.
Yeah, and I think maybe the context would be like, let's say they're running good on good, or iron versus iron, as we like to say. Yeah. And instead of Tatum Bethune being at linebacker, it's, DeMarco Ward, or it's Blake Nicholson, guys who might end up being really good. The Cryer kid, they might end up being really good, but they're not Tatum Bethune right now. They're just not. Tatum Bethune's a grown man. He's been playing college football for 5 years. These kids were all in high school last year. So it's a different level. And I'm just using Bethune because Norvell mentioned him as an example of somebody that had been limited. Well, now he's back out there, and you see maybe the defense operating at a faster, different level than you've seen it previously. And vice versa, if somebody on offense is back out there that hasn't been out there. If Verse is out there, and I know people know he was in a green jersey for a few days. If he's out there operating at full capacity, even if it's limited reps, because why bother at this point? Man, I think it's like, oh, yeah, that's nice. That's good. That's better. That looks different. Everything's can feel like, and you want to knock on wood because you still got a week and a half left. And Norvell mentioned there were no major injuries. He seemed like he acted like they got out of there pretty injury free for the most part. That you start to see the full complements that this whole team has, and that's man, they're ranked high for a reason. There's a lot of good football players, a lot of experienced football players, and I think the best part about this camp. And I think Atkins and Fuller touched on this a little bit, is so many other guys have gotten a chance to play with good players. So they've gotten to grow up. You know what I mean? They've gotten to acclimate to playing with the first teamers or guys that are going to play a lot. And they're fresh out of high school. And you're building depth that way. That's how you build depth. These guys, if in a pinch, one of these true freshman safeties have to play, Well, they shouldn't be completely overwhelmed because they've been doing that a little bit. They've mixed and matched a lot this preseason with guys that will probably play a lot, with guys that are learning. But, it's building depth. And I think when you look at the experience and how much talent this team has on both sides of the ball, and it's displayed like apparently it was displayed on Sunday morning, it can make coaches smile and be pretty upbeat talking about their football team.
Yeah, I feel like especially on defense, they've mixed and matched so much where I think, going into the camp, if we listed our starting 11 we thought on defense, I don't know what percentage. It'd be a very small number in terms of they've rolling those sort of guys out. But
and not even because of injury, Aslan.
Right,
They're just
exactly.
doing it just to do
it.
To
to
get
your
guys
point.
used to it.
Yeah, like to your point. Yeah, exactly. Just to put them in the mix. Like Justin Cryer's out there sometimes, and you're like, whoa, like I see Patrick Payton, I see Braden Fisk, and I see Justin Cryer. I see Josh Farmer, and I see Patrick Payton, and I see, Edwin Joseph back there. It's like, wow, this is
Kirkland. You'll see Renardo Green, Cypress, and Kirkland in the second. I mean, they are really trying to throw these guys in. Atkins talked about that a lot, about how they're just throwing so much at these guys. They are throwing so much. It's all been thrown at them, and they're having to learn on the fly. But they're not babying them.
No.
They're throwing them into the deep end and seeing how quickly they'll learn to swim.
Thoughts on the praise heaped upon Destyn Hill from Alex Atkins, as well as hearing that he made a big catch in a 2-minute situation. Winston Wright also complimented specifically, unsolicited by head coach Mike Norvell. Again, we were at a point going into the offseason where we thought, okay, who's going to be the number 2 wide receiver for Florida State? Will it be Kentron Portier? We love what we have with Johnny. Can Kentron be your number 2 guy? Is that good enough? You get Keon Coleman, so you start talking about your number 3 wide receiver. Guys that have the kind of body, size, composition of guys like Destyn, the history of Winston Wright. To know that those guys are maybe peaking or ramping up, how does that affect your optimism, Corey, for what the offense can be?
Yeah, man, I honed in on the Destyn stuff too, because I think Norvell and specifically Atkins were asked about him. Maybe Norvell wasn't. I don't remember. But Atkins definitely was. Yeah. Norvell and Dugans was asked about him on Saturday.
Yeah.
And they don't talk about the speed or the fluidity or the route running that much. Atkins didn't talk about it at all. What they always hone in on is his work ethic. And Atkins said if there's something to work on, if there's work to do, he's going to do it. And he's one of those kids you almost have to save him from himself. Like, slow down. You don't need to keep doing this much.
You'd rather tell him, whoa, boy, than giddy up.
Exactly right. A great man once said that. No. It's society.
Yeah.
He also said society, too.
Right.
Look, man, that to me is more encouraging than anything I've seen on the field. And what I've seen on the field is very, very encouraging. I've said it, not knowing anything about really his mindset, his work ethic. You watch him, and he belongs, and he's going to play. And he looks for a freshman. I know he's not a typical freshman. He's well above what I thought he was going to be. That's just the physical. And then you hear stuff like that, and you're like, okay, that's where it can become special. That's where it can go from a decent, good college wide receiver to a All-American type college wide receiver. The stuff like that, when you hear stuff like that, the work ethic and how much he cares and how engaged he is, that to me is what's so encouraging about Destyn Hill. Not just the physical, which is obvious when you watch him. It is that he apparently is built different. Atkins said that a couple of times. It's not normal how he works. And that's, there aren't many great athletes that have ever existed that weren't really hard, almost maniacal workers. And it would appear that Destyn Hill might fit in that category.
Also good to hear that Winston Wright was out there making guys miss. He's a guy that, it seems like it's like touch and go with him throughout preseason camp, but hopefully maybe he's at a point where he can be relied upon because, again, I mean, he's got maybe, I don't know, Johnny had a really good year last year, so maybe that outshines what Winston did in West Virginia before he got here, but just in terms of being able to do it in a game situation, he's got more on tape than anybody else, so that'd be important to have, at least in these early weeks, it feels like.
Yeah, and I again, we're not allowed to watch scrimmage. We watch everything else, but they don't tackle in the practices. They do tackle in scrimmages. And so I don't know if Winston Wright was tackled. I don't know how many times he was tackled, but I know he hasn't truly been tackled in 2 years. So it's good that he's out there with people trying to tackle him and making people miss. What was the last time Winston Wright made somebody miss that was actually trying to tackle him? His last game at West Virginia, which was over 2 years ago, or right at 2 years ago. So, man, that's good news. I think we know what they have in the two guys out wide. It's one of the best combinations in the country. Then you mix in Destyn Hill, and if Winston Wright can get close to that Winston Wright, or as good or better, and plus Destyn Hill keeps doing what he's been doing, well, okay, now this could be something really, really nice, especially when you think about, they're pretty good at tight end too.
VitaminEnergy.com, pretty good, more than pretty good. It's great because it's got two things. It's got vitamins, it's got energy. It's right there in the name. Go to VitaminEnergy.com, use the promo code Warchant BOGO, Warchant BOGO, get an item of equal or lesser value for absolutely free. It's been featured on Yahoo News, Bloomberg, Us Weekly, Insider. They're all catching on. I don't know if they're listening to the pod. Probably, maybe. Yeah. But it's catching on. Vitamin Energy helping you achieve a healthier physique, convenient to drink, no sugar crash because there's no sugar. It's just 260 milligrams of good old-fashioned natural caffeine. Whether you take the Immune Plus to support your immune system, you have many options over at VitaminEnergy.com. Check them out. Again, you can buy one, get one free. You can mix and match, try them out. See if you want to go with the mood, the focus, the workout, or again, the immune. It's the number one immune power shot, energy shot out there in the market for a reason. Check it out. Go to VitaminEnergy.com. Use that promo code WarChampBOGO to buy one and get one free. Shake it and take it. VitaminEnergy.com. Energy with benefits. Corey, how about the offensive line? I don't think we'll ever get a full list of, all right, who's your starting five right now, but seemingly I think four of those spots are probably all but cinched up. But this seems to be a group that continues to grow and get better, and just, a new name. I don't want to say a new name, but maybe we don't think about some other guys that are on the periphery of being part of this core, but you hear a guy like Darius Washington might be playing his best football yet. How important, how encouraging is it to hear that this offensive line seems to be kind of settling into a nucleus of guys that they can count on, but maybe even something as big as 8, which is, we talked about it going into the preseason camp. I wrote a story about it, but that didn't, I don't know if that seemed truly, truly real, but now that we're, 13, 14, was it 15 maybe practices now deep into this, they really do seem to have the numbers and the talent on the front line.
Yeah, Norvell talked about them glowingly on Sunday. Said they played really well at the beginning of practice. Then I'm sure they started mixing and matching as they got deeper into the scrimmage. But and Atkins was asked again, what's the starting five? And he basically said, look, we're going to play more than 5. He said that. It's not normal. We're going to play. We plan to play more than 5. But he said they have 8 guys they can. I think the way he termed it was they have 8 guys they can win with, and 2 more that they think can play at a high level. I assume Armella is one of those. Maybe early. I don't know who the 2 are specifically. We know who the 8 are. You can go look at the roster and see all the guys that have had 30 starts in their career. Those are those 8, including Darius Washington. But yeah, I agree with you. I think there's probably 4 spots kind of locked up, at least in our minds. That right tackle spot, I think, is still up for grabs. But I don't think they're BSing us. I think all 8 are going to play if they're available. And, there are nicks and bruises and everything else and sprains. And if that happens, again, I've talked about this before, but instead of having Casey Roddick play on a sprained ankle where he's 70%, well, you got Darius Washington. You'd rather have Darius Washington at 100% than the starter at 85%. That's how good Darius Washington is. That's not a normal case with most college football teams. You want your starters to always play, even if they're banged up, if they're 70% or 60%. Well, Darius Washington is such a swing guy that he can having him is so valuable. It's invaluable, dare I say.
Some may say, yeah.
That they just, man, they're good there too. I mean, again, you start looking for holes on this team. And again, when you hear me talk, I'm not predicting an undefeated season. I'm not predicting a national championship. Frankly, I just want another really good 10-win season.
Oh, come on.
I'm telling you, just for the momentum of the program, That's not this program, Wake Up Warchant, but the actual program. But it would help Wake Up too. Be good again. It'd be awesome if they're great, but be good again. And when you look at this team, they were good last year. Not great, but good. And I would say, other than safety, they're better at every single position.
I know. So how can you just want to be good again? You have to take a step forward.
You don't have to. Look, I just don't want to step backwards. I want to step forward. I hope it happens. But just for the sake of the program and some continuity, another 10 or 10-win season would be great for me, great for us, great for Florida State fans. You have then stacked one on top of the other. 2022 wasn't an anomaly, which none of us think it is because this team is better. But the point being, when we talk this team up so much, it sounds like we're talking about the 13 team sometimes. And I don't want people to get it twisted. I don't think this team is that. But when you look at the team as a whole, I don't know that there's not a hole on it.
I know, so stop being wishy-washy.
Well, there are other good teams too, man. I mean, LSU and Clemson are good too. And it's 2023. Even if you're the best team in the country, you're going to play 4 close games or 5 close games. You might get unlucky or 1 or 2 of them, or you might get a horrible injury at the wrong time and lose a game or 2. But this team, as it's currently constructed in the middle of August, is really darn good, should win a lot of games, and you feel confident, right, Aslan, at virtually every position. Maybe not kicker yet, and we'll get to that, I guess, in a minute.
Yeah.
But every position, including linebacker, I think safety is the one, again, where you just wonder if they're special back there because you lost a special player, and you might not have replaced them with a special player. But every other spot on the field is better.
I don't know.
Some substantially better.
Yeah, no, man, absolutely. That's why I think 10 wins is like your absolute floor, and I think it's a bummer floor too. If it's being passed out the floor.
When you look at last season, yes, they're better than they are last season. Well, again, we do this a lot. You can always play this game. You know, they beat LSU by a point. They beat Louisville in the final minute. They beat Florida and Oklahoma in the final minute. They were close to 6 losses. They were also close to 12 wins. But it wasn't like, other than that last month before Florida, it wasn't like it was clear sailing. This is just a dominant football team. So, they're going to have to play the tight moments well because they will be in some close games. But, yeah, they have set themselves up with this roster to be, the more talented team, I think, and this might even include LSU when you factor in experience and factor that into talent, the best team on the field every time they take the field. That doesn't mean they're going to win every game. It's sports. But, man, you hear these coaches talk. We watch them practice. Yep. You know the quarterback, and you're like, gosh, darn, this team has a chance to be really good.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned the quarterback because I think in his opening comment, within his first few sentences, Coach Norvell said that he thought Jordan played outstanding. And then Alex Atkins says in his comments that sometimes you take it for granted, but he's a special player. Yeah. And, not to speak for you, but maybe to speak for you, we're not the kind of guys that we don't think bowl games forecast how you're going to be the next season. For so many years, it's always like how you perform in a bowl game was like this launching pad to how great you could be the following season. I know Florida State won the Orange Bowl in 2012 and ended up winning the national title, but they didn't look all that great for moments in that Orange Bowl game in 2012. But it just feels like Jordan really did take some kind of, I don't know, supernatural almost leap mentally after that 3-game losing streak last year to where he felt like a completely different quarterback. He performed at a completely different level. You could maybe say some of that was a little bit of the competition involved, but there was a lot of real game stress management moments thrown in there, and he kind of passed with flying colors every single time. And just having a spring under his belt and then going through camp the way that we see him going and operating, that's, it all starts with him, but I feel like we've been so excited about talking about Johnny and Keon, how good they look together, and how good Byers and Roddick look, and how awesome Fisk looks, and Ventral Cypress all ACC again. You have all these, but it's man, it starts, it ends with that quarterback, and as long as he's around and performing at a high level and being called special and outstanding in the dog days of camp, that's what's going to pull you through all those 4 close games. I feel like I just don't know how many other guys are going to have that ace up their sleeve the way that Mike Norvell and Alex Atkins are going to have to. And that's why, 10 wins. I don't want to keep quibbling over the 10 wins thing, but that's where it all comes from, thinking about how special this team could be, at least for me. Corey.
Yeah, and Travis, Atkins basically said he did say, you take it for granted, but he's so good and so efficient. He's making the right reads. He's checking it down when he has to. And I thought he made a really good point about when he's checking it down. Like 2 years ago, there was nobody to really check it down to. There were no wide receivers that you could just throw a simple screen to, and that's 12 yards. But as Atkins was saying on Sunday, he knows now because he's surrounded by so much better talent. And he's done a better, it's not just, Pokey Wilson and Andrew Parchment. Like he's surrounded by so much better talent that he can dump it down to a running back and a 3-yard gain becomes a 12-yard gain. And he's operating like that. Like in 2 years ago, if the Florida State offense was going to make a big play, it was almost certainly going to be because of Jordan Travis. Well, now he can be, a quote-unquote game manager kind of, right? And obviously he's so much more than a game manager because I know that's a pejorative these days. He's not. He's a special quarterback, but he can nickel and dime and dump it down the field. One thing that was always missed about Charlie Ward is Charlie Ward would always take the simplest throw, almost always. He made some incredible throws, but what he did, now maybe it's a basketball background, he made such quick decisions that as soon as a guy was open, it was in his hands. And that's so much of what quarterback is. And it's not just forcing it to Merrick Vanover over and over again, or Kevin Knox, or in Jordan Travis's case, Johnny Wilson or Keon Coleman. Like, if that guy's open 6 yards down the field, I'm going to get it to him. There you go. That's a 9-yard gain. I don't always have to look for the big play. And I just watching him operate this offense, just in the context that we get to watch, which is a lot of, it's a lot of three plays here, 3 plays there, get off the field. He doesn't make a lot of risky throws, does he?
Well, they're situational things. I mean, those 3 plays, it's 2nd and 8, like deep in your own territory. It's moments like that you're seeing the 3 plays where he's making the right decisions, Corey. So that feels good about it.
But it's like he's like that game manager that you always hear about, the guy that takes what you give him, will make the simple throw. He can also make the really difficult throws, but he'll make the simple throw. He can beat you. He beats you with his arm. He can beat you with his mind. And, if everybody's open, he's a running back.
If everybody's covered. If
everybody's covered, if nobody's open, he's a running back that can make your defenders look foolish. Yep. And so that's what I think is, just so remarkable about him. 2 years ago, if Florida State was going to move the ball, Jordan Travis would have to do Herculean things. He'd have to make 3 guys miss, have a 40-yard run, scramble around, and throw. Now he can just operate the offense, and if it breaks down, you've got one of the best running quarterbacks in the country. So, yes, on top of everything else we've talked about and why they were so excited, we leave the best for last because Jordan Travis is the best player on the team. He's one of the best players in the country, and as long as he's back there, you feel good that they can win every game they're in. They might not, but – when you look at the LSU team, LSU's good too. They're ranked higher than Florida State. Florida State's an underdog, but I think Jordan Travis is better than Jaden Daniels. Yeah. And if everything's equal, I think the best quarterback's going to win. So we'll see.
I think we might have just pulled Corey into playoff expectation territory. Everybody, we just tried. We all willed it together. Appreciate everybody out there saying the vibes this way. Let's talk about the defense, Corey. I mean, you mentioned safety, and I don't know how much of safety play is to cover up deficiencies on the front end and how much you can do on the front side of things with your fronts and your defensive line to make things easier on your back end. But, the quote was, we've got a chance to be as good as there is. Greedy goes out there, has an interception apparently during some of his plays. Shyheim gets some compliments too as well. But I just feel like, if Fisk and Fuller and Fabian, these guys being in the mix, and you've talked about run defense as maybe the one spot where there's the most room to grow. Man, just them simply being able to ruin run game plans that the opposition has, how much that's going to affect the entire way they can play defensively and the confidence they'll have on the back end with these safeties. Because I agree with you, man. Like, Akeem is kind of in that Dennis Briggs territory where you're like, all right, man, like solid kid, adequate. Don't know if it's special. I don't know if it can get to special, but should be good enough when asked for. But, man, like maybe Fisk and Fuller and Fabian to a certain degree, that they can do enough.
Farmer.
I was.
Fuller.
I'm looking at his face on the thumbnail right in front of me because I have all the comments that you typed out on the thread. So, but yeah, you're right. I keep saying it. It's Farmer, everybody. I get it. Joshua Farmer, shout out. But just that's what keeps me excited. That's what I think. That's the thing that's changed. I think the calculus for Adam Fuller and the defense. I think it's the presence of a guy like Fisk, seeing what he does, disrupting run games, run lanes, and that's going to make everything else a little bit more manageable for everybody. Is there anything that you think has kind of emerged here of the last few weeks that's maybe given Adam Fuller this kind of good feeling for where his defense can be?
Well, look, I think all that's true. They're going to have a good defensive line, maybe great. We'll see. And then I just think the secondary, you've got loads of bodies, and not just bodies. Like, again, it's probably a pretty good chance Azareye'h Thomas won't start. Azareye'h Thomas is, I think, a really good college football player. And, I thought Fuller was good talking about how they want all these guys to be multiple, that they can play different positions. He mentioned Jarian Jones at nickel, or Greedy Vance at regular corner, because they want their best players on the field. And if somebody gets hurt, or if they're against a team that's in a 4-wide set, or is going to be empty most of the game, or trying to come back, and they have to have 6 DBs on the field, he wants to have his 6 best DBs on the field. He doesn't want to be like, well, I can't put Jarian out there because we already got our 2 corners out there. So they practice him at all these different positions. And yeah, man, you just look at Azareye'h and Cypress and Renardo Green, who's the best of the bunch, quite frankly, at least has been. Shaheem, who you said got a lot of talk, a lot of good praise on Sunday. Akeem, and then the new guys that they really like, Greedy. There's a lot of guys here, man, and not just guys, like good players. And I think that gives them a lot of confidence, too. It's not that they're good players. Noles, it's not that they're just good players. They're old players. They're experienced players. And that should help them immensely, to have 6 or 7 guys that have played so much football as you're welcoming in these new guys, too. But, yeah, man, I think the defense, if it can stay relatively healthy, should be good. It'd be really nice to have Darrell Jackson. That'd be a really nice thing to have. They don't, but yeah, that's a downer. That's a bummer. But yeah, I think other than that, you feel really good about what this defense could be if it stays healthy.
There was some stuff out there late last week, Corey, that North Carolina was expecting to get a reversal from the NCAA on their waiver appeal for their guy, Tez Walker, who I think was at Kent State. I haven't seen any updates on that, but do we root for that? Because then maybe that starts a domino, and then maybe Darrell Jackson's back on the agenda in Indianapolis.
It would show that the NCAA is capable of reversing course, but that's better than them. If somebody has that decision overturned, then yeah, I think that would be a good sign for Darrell Jackson, but they don't usually reverse course. So until that happens, yeah, I mean, it'd be a good sign, but it hasn't happened. So we'll see if it does. I think there's one at Arizona State too, which is one of these just ridiculous decisions they've made because they make ridiculous decisions, and there's no way to really get them to change.
I'm not changing. I'm going to mybookie.ag, and I'm just I'm hunkering down, putting all the money on Jordan Travis, plus 1325 to win the Heisman Trophy. Figure by the time they're 4-0 coming out of September, my bookie's going to realize that they're in grave danger of going under, and they'll give me a cash settlement. So I'll do that. In the meantime, you can use the promo code WARCHANT for a cash deposit bonus. Take advantage of it when you sign up over at mybookie.ag. Pointed this out a few times, Corey. It's they got Jaden Daniels with better, I don't know, worse. What's the nomenclature? His odds are less of a payout, plus 1050 versus Jordan's plus 1325. I don't know where that comes from. I guess they think that maybe he's going to win the head-to-head battle because otherwise, with that schedule LSU has, he's going to get tripped up. He's going to have bad weeks. I just don't see Jordan having a lot of bad weeks. So that's why I'm with Jordan.
Okay, all right, man. I agree with you, buddy. Okay. I agree with you. I would put my money and I would never bet on it. I'm a Heisman voter. I don't even know if that's allowed. That would be what a scandal that would be if I bet on the Heisman Trophy as a Heisman voter. But yeah, if I was going to bet, I certainly would put my money on Jordan Travis and not Jaden Daniels.
Georgia's quarterback is now going to be Carson Beck. He was plus 1675. It's now tightened down to plus 1600. So Check it out. Let's do the highest just on the way out. Who's the highest? Yeah, again, Marvin Harrison Jr. we've talked about, plus 2,300, the best odds on anyone that's not a quarterback, so maybe you put some on that one as well. Do what you will. There's a sports book. There's a casino. It's all there. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere at mybookie.ag. Use the promo code WARCHANT for an instant cash deposit bonus. All right, Corey, last thing on the way out. Maybe that should be like a recurring segment here. But anywho, I digress. I don't know if you've got notes in front of you. I've got notes in front of me. I don't know if they're from Friday's practice or Saturday's practice with some of the kicking, but then we also talked to Coach Norvell and John Papuchis after practice, or rather after the scrimmage on Sunday, about kicking. Where do you think they are in the kick game? It sounds like the scrimmage went well. There was a game situation, I think, so we had a game-winning kick situation that showed up in 2 minutes. You're grading everything, every kick. I like what I see. So I guess we should like what we see as well then.
So on Friday, Keltner missed both of his kicks.
Okay, so it was Friday.
Shanked the bejesus out of the 31-yarder, like straight left, like sideways left off the foot. Like it looked like the Nebraska kick in the 93 national championship game, like straight left immediately. And then missed the other one, missed the 43-yarder to the right. I think he hit it better, but he still missed it. So he went 0 for 2. And Fitzgerald made both of his. His second one, the 43-yarder, hit off the left upright, but went in. It counts. Hey, however you got to get it through the uprights, my man.
That's right.
So I was thinking on Saturday when we were there for that practice, after Keltner, and look, guys, they kick a lot during practice, but there's only 2 that, in my opinion, really matter. And that's not true. They all matter, but these matter more. And it's when it's team drills. It's not just them kicking with a holder. It's 22 guys on the field. And it's the ball's being snapped. They're rushing after it. They're trying to kick. People are watching it. They're the more pressure packed of the kicks they have all day. So, so on Friday when they did that, he missed both of his, and Fitzgerald made both of his. Well, that's not great for Tyler Keltner at all, because Fitzgerald hasn't been missing much. Neither has Keltner. But if you're trying to take the job from someone, going 0 for 2 on a day isn't great. And then I was watching so I was right under the goalpost on Saturday because it was inside the practice facility. And I was telling Jeff when we were watching him, because, Jeff jokingly is rooting for Keltner because he's an Etsu guy. And Jeff went to East Tennessee State too for, I think, a semester. Anyway, I was genuinely watching those kicks, because if Keltner had missed those kicks, I think the competition's over. I don't think you can unseat the starter if you miss 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 4 straight kicks in the team portions of practice. But he didn't. He made both of them easily. Kicked them straight down the middle, straight down the heart. Looked good. So he kept himself in the running. But then Fitzgerald made both of his too. And then I guess in the scrimmage on Sunday, Keltner was 2 for 2. Fitzgerald was 1 for 1. But the point being, right? Like, I think there was some real pressure on Keltner on Saturday. Nobody else on the field other than Papuchis and Norvell really care what's going on. But he knows that if he misses 1 or 2 of these kicks, that's a wrap, man. You can say, no, don't be dumb, Corey. No way. No way. When you're trying to unseat a kicker and you miss 4 in a row in your, quote, pressure-packed situations, they're not going to trust you. There's nothing you can do in the next 10 days to win it back. But he kept himself in the game with those kicks. Does that make sense? Like, yes, I think he felt real pressure. Like pressure that you could feel in a game.
Yeah, man.
That's how much pressure was on him to make those kicks, because he knew the race would be over if he missed them. And that's a lot to live with for a whole 24-hour period. And he's made his last 3 or last 4 in live situations. So again, I know I've already spoken 3 minutes too long on this. But I thought that was a good sign that he didn't melt down or spiral or shank another one. He came and kicked them true right through the uprights with a lot of leg. That was good to see.
Or also it might be good just to know that, he's out of it and we can just put all of our eggs in the Fitzgerald basket. But no,
you don't want that.
Let's keep competing. Let's keep competing, guys. Let's keep competing. How about this, Corey? Brett McMurphy from the Action Network. Apparently, he's been doing his previews and stuff, and he talks to all these coaches. So he asked all the coaches in the ACC, that is, their favorite musical artists. Have you seen this?
I have not. No.
Okay. It's ridiculous. And our guy's guilty of it too, I feel like. So Duke's Mike Elko, his favorite musical artist is Jay-Z.
Yeah, all right.
Jeff Brom from Louisville, his favorite musical artist is LL Cool J.
All right. That kind of checks out, honestly. All right, go ahead.
Mike Norvell, Bob Marley.
Okay. Bob Marley.
Bob Marley.
Well, anybody else choose Bob? Where's Springsteen? Nobody said Springsteen?
My guy Jeff Halfley up in Boston.
Oh, okay. There you go. That makes sense.
Dabo picked Garth Brooks. That might be the most.
That absolutely makes sense.
Mario Cristobal, Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
Dave Dorn, Merle Haggard. Dino Babers, James Brown. But, what is going through Mike Elko's head when he says Jay-Z?
He might be a real fan. He might be a real one. You don't know. I mean, I'd be surprised.
Okay.
But I'm not going to judge. We can't judge books by their cover. He might be a true Jay-Z fan. He might have been on board since
Reasonable Doubt. You think he's been on since Reasonable Doubt?
Early 90s?
Okay.
How long has Jay-Z been around? Mid 90s?
Oh, yeah. Early 90s. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Bob Marley. I wonder what Coach Norvell's favorite Marley song is. Maybe we'll ask one of these days.
You should ask him. Do you think he's making it up? Have we heard Marley out there?
Never.
Yeah.
Never,
we did hear
not
AC/DC on either Friday or Saturday. We heard AC/DC for a little bit, which was cool to hear.
We did. We got the GPS question in. That was good. So 22 was the highest. Our guy Riser Mike saw the response, so shout out to Riser Mike for the question.
22 miles per hour is what Aslan's referring to for the top speed that they've recorded on GPS. Well, Norvell said we should ask Storms, but that's what he remembered off the top of his head, and that it was Deuce. And something else.
But they can only register speeds indoors, or is it outdoors only?
No, outdoors.
Outdoors.
They can't do it indoors yet.
Yeah. So.
But I thought it was interesting. So I asked Toafili that same question, just because he had been asked a lot of other stuff, and I was like, hey man, who's the fastest on the team? Who's the fastest player on the team? And his vote was Rodney Hill. But that's probably running back love. You know what I mean?
Right.
Rodney Hill, and then he said a couple of other people. He said I feel like I'm fast. I'd be in the mix. Like he mentioned 3 or 4 people. And then Azarie Thomas. Sometimes when we're doing interviews and the players are walking off the field, they'll come stand behind us to screw with the kid that's being interviewed. And I think that's what Azarie was doing, was like kind of just screwing with Toafili, like just standing there watching him be interviewed. And I saw him and I turned around and it's like, hey man, who's the fastest player on the team? And without hesitation, he goes, oh, it's Deuce. And that was it. No other explanation, no other name. He just said matter-of-factly it's Deuce. So I think we know now with the miles per hour and Azarie, who's a fast kid himself, not him hawing at all. And plus we've seen it too, that we hope it can materialize into actual playmaking. But Deuce Spann is the fastest player on the football team.
Ball's on the 5-yard line, going in, red zone, tight zone. Dugan's on Surtain. Who do you have, Corey? Dugans is betting on himself, recommends all of us to bet on him. We'll see what Coach Surtain has to say about it when it's his turn to be up at the podium to talk to us after a practice. I think I'm going to go Surtain. I love you, Ron. I know Ron's a Florida State guy, too. He's an alum. I think Surtain a little bit younger, maybe?
I think he's a little bit older.
Oh,
I think. But I wonder if he played against Dugans, because they played Southern Miss in 96 when Surtain's team got their butts kicked. But, that was 96. Everybody did except Florida that played the team that year. Oh, yeah. Let me look real quick.
Surtain's 47, Dugans is 46.
Okay, yeah, so they're similar in age. Let's see if they played against each other. I'm just going to look at the box, see if Dugans had any catches.
I think Dugans has got him on a slant. If it's a fade, I think I'll go with Surtain.
I agree with you. I think that Surtain's probably a little bit better an athlete. I don't see if he receiving. Nope. Doesn't look like Dugans had any catches. Warwick Dunn did. Oh, Dugans did. He had 2 for 26 and a touchdown.
Boom.
Ooh, and it might, for all we know, it came against Surtain. So who knows? But yeah, Florida State won that game 54-14.
All right.
Warwick Dunn's really good. Was really good.
Still is really good.
He is. You're right.
In the game of life, which is what matters.
Maybe, and he might. He's a borderline Hall of Famer. I hope he gets in. I'm not counting on it, but I hope he gets in.
All right. So we don't have practice today nor tomorrow, but we'll have shows nonetheless. We're going to have one of the folks from the Bengal Tiger, the On3 website that covers LSU, on the show tomorrow. Let's get a little insight into what's going on in Baton Rouge. Apparently, that defensive secondary is getting beat up and battered, and apparently their running game was just averaging 5 yards a carry against everybody. First team, second team, third team did not matter. So, and apparently they might have just as good access, maybe even more than us. Well, not more access, but they might be able to talk a little bit more freely about what's going on down there in Baton Rouge. So tune in for that. And whatever else is going on in the world of Florida State, we'll have you covered. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 3 o'clock. Headlines tomorrow, 1 to 3 o'clock. You know how it goes, everybody. We'll be live Thursday, 6 o'clock. Like 96% on that. You never know. Life throws curveballs at us. We can't plan for them sometimes, but that's the plan for now. So put it on the calendars. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Stay connected to warchant.com, the ultimate Seminoles sports source. Thumbs up on the way out, 5-star rating and review as well. It's been Wake Up War Chant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.